back on our page here. Okay, Nancy can hear us. Awesome. So I see that a few people are on and can hear us. So we're going to go ahead and get started today. So I'm going to introduce myself first. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sarah Clark. I am a dental hygienist, and I am also the manager of Dental Toaster. Dental Toaster is an online CE platform. We love to have fresh new content, and we like to deliver it in ways that are pretty uncommon still out there. So nice bite-sized pieces, on-demand learning, live webinars, you name it, and that's what we're putting out there. Our goal is to hopefully reach out to all of you and find a learning style that's convenient, affordable, and can help you be the best clinician that you hope to be. So Laura, I'm going to have you go ahead and introduce yourself today so everybody knows who you are, and then we'll go into talking a bit about what you've done on your own and as well as with Dental Toaster.
Okay. Well, my name is Dr. Laura Mach, and I am a general dentist in Iowa. And I've been in dentistry for a little over 20 years, but I was a dental assistant before I went to dental school. I was trained on the job back in the day when you dipped the full mouth series on the clippies into the water, not water, the developer and the fixer and all that stuff, learned how to mount them all, you know, all that stuff. And I thought dentistry was so cool that after I had 2 children, I decided to go to dental school. And I had a third during my dental school time, and I graduated in 2008 and immediately bought a practice, which I still own today. Did I say 2008? I graduated in 2007, sorry. I bought my practice in 2008 though. So now I've been a dental practice owner for 13 years, and my youngest child, who was born biologically female, came out as transgender a year and a half ago. And that sort of threw me into a new space of just sort of like awareness of a need that we had in dentistry to be more sensitive to our transgender patients, and not just sensitive, but also just, you know, even whether we're respectful or not respectful, or we're having the intention of being respectful, there's a certain way to do that. And I found that a lot of people didn't really understand exactly how to. So I put together a course, which is how I came in connection with Dental Toaster, because my course, which is for anyone in dentistry, is on Dental Toaster, and it's 90 minutes, and it teaches you the history, the context, and the do's and don'ts for treating transgender patients.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that's amazing. Congrats on practice ownership and doing so well. I know that's a lot of stress, so thank you for having a place to provide care for people, all people. Yeah, I know that as a hygienist myself, I have not to this day specifically treated a transgender patient. I know that out there, there's kind of this unspoken, I don't even know what a good word for it is. I wouldn't even say stigma. It's just a lot of unknowing. So It's, in my head, I've gone through those phases of, who can I ask? Is it okay to ask? Is it offensive to ask? How can I ask and not be offensive? But how do I know how to ask without being offensive? And so we all just kind of sit there and we don't say anything and we don't do anything. So then we don't know better. And, you know, we truly want to be allies and we want to help out, but we don't know what's off limits or not. So having somebody that's here to help us with that is huge.
Yes. And it's actually really easy. Like once you take the class, you'll be like, oh, this is easy. But like you can tell when you're talking to someone who doesn't know the rules, because they'll kind of trip over their words. They're like, oh, well, I know this friend and he has a daughter. Well, she was a daughter, but she's becoming a son, you know, that kind of thing. Like they don't know exactly how to describe it. And my class takes away all that. Plus there's like curiosity questions that we all humans have, because we're putting our things in the little card catalogs of our brain, and it goes through some of the really common curiosity questions that you might want to ask, but you're pretty sure you shouldn't ask your patient. And I answer those questions for you too.
Yeah, I've seen the course. It's phenomenal. There was so much I had no idea, and I was like, thank you. So for those who don't know or haven't seen it, the course name is Creating a Safe Space for Our Transgender Patients. And I honestly feel like it's also creating a safe space for all of us as well, because that's our safe space to go learn. I know when I looked through all the content, I was like, okay, I'm in my own little room here, which is the great thing about the on-demand learning. I am able to understand this content, absorb this content. If I need to hit Google up, I at least have a good way of figuring out where I need to go or what I need to be looking into at this point in time. And now when I have that first interaction with somebody who's open with me about their transgender journey, I'm going to be so much more prepared than I was before that, because I had no idea on most of pretty much any of the terms, what is or isn't okay to ask. You even go into that, and that was so helpful.
Right, because now when you find out you're talking to a transgender patient, you'll be like, "Oh, okay, what's your pronoun?" And then you'll write it down and make sure you have the name right, and then you'll move on.
Exactly. So helpful. What I know you went into that you are having or you've had experiences and are going to continue having experiences with this in your personal life. What is your motivation by putting this course out there? What do you hope other dental professionals can get from it, and hopefully move forward in their own growth stage?
So, okay, there's a couple different things I want to make sure I say here. First of all, I was talking to my transgender son's endocrinologist. And the reason most transgender individuals have an endocrinologist, because if they're going to do any medical treatment with their transgender identity, it's going to involve hormones, which is what an endocrinologist does, right?
Yes.
So this gal, she's a pediatric endocrinologist, and she was recently asked by a dental pediatric residency, to put together a class for all the pediatric dentist residences in the country, because there are no classes in dentistry right now that teach us what we're supposed to do and how to do it best. In medical, they are at least a decade ahead of us with this. There are policies in place. There are procedures and ways to make sure all the medical personnel know how they're supposed to treat someone who's transgender. And so my first reason for doing this is because I learned from the endocrinologist that there's nothing in dentistry. And of course, in dentistry, we are a little bit more scattered about. We're not owned by 10 or 12 or even 100 big hospital systems. We're one dental practice, one dental practice, one dental practice all around the country. And so it's hard for us to be united in anything. And that includes in taking better care of our transgender patients. And the other reason is just because, it's just honestly better for business. And that includes if you're a hygienist or an assistant. This is job security. If you're a dentist, this is good for your business to know how to treat people in the LGBTQ community with respect and kindness. They are a community that are tight-knit, and they will tell their friends to come and see you, and it'll just increase the demand on your services.
Absolutely. Yeah, those are fantastic points. I know, talking about how there's nothing, I haven't really seen anything before. I remember in hygiene school, there wasn't anything. We did cultural competence, but there was no discussion about transgender or the LGBTQ populations. How should we be treating them if there's medical implications there? Because we know, as you just talked about with endocrinology and all of that, there's going to be a lot of different medical things that we need to be aware of. What should we be doing? Should we be updating our patient paperwork? Because I see that a lot where that becomes a big thing. I don't know if you have any tips, or I'm sure your paperwork's updated so that it has some good ways for these community members to be able to actually state who they are. Because I feel like that's, I couldn't imagine getting a piece of paperwork and not being able to fill it out knowing where I fit on those lines.
Yes, and that's something that we experience on a regular basis in our household.
Absolutely. I can imagine with whether it's with school applications or anything. I would imagine most places still aren't up to date. So that's a big thing. Even, and hopefully pushing forward, dental softwares will be making it so those integrated or generalized dental or medical histories can include that in them, because it's a big thing. We want to make sure we're on top of that. Would you say there's other implications that we should really be aware of when we're getting prepared to treat a transgender patient or anybody in their population? I know we talked a bit about medical and a bit about paperwork, but some of those things that maybe we wouldn't think of as quickly.
Well, first of all, I want to point out that making arrangements in your software and your paperwork is really easy. It's not that hard. Even if your software doesn't automatically do it, there are plenty of workarounds. You just have to be creative, and you can figure out a way to make sure. I mean, the objective is that you're treating your people with the correct name and pronoun, right? So you can do that. And the thing that limits it, of course, is dental insurance or third-party payers, because they're going to have restrictions around what you are allowed to call that person when you make your claim. Right? Like, I mean, even if you get a birth date wrong on an insurance claim, they're not going to pay, right? So you have to have who that person is legally, and then who that person is with their identity. And in the way you keep track of that person, you'll have to keep track of both, and make sure that you figure out how you're going to know which name is the preferred, or you could even call it the correct name, because that's what the LGBTQ community prefers that we call it. Instead of calling it the preferred gender, the preferred name, they want you to call it the correct gender, the correct name. So,
That's so good.
Yeah, I know. And that really is the main thing. And then also figuring out ways to communicate subtly to these people that they are in a safe space where we accept them and that we want them to just be themselves. So, like, for example, I have a little pride flag that's taped on the inside of my front door. And the people who know what that means, they appreciate that that's there. Just an example.
So great. Yeah, that communication, that little piece, and just saying, we're here for you, and making those little adjustments. Yeah, the insurance thing. Wow, what a good point, because, we're all trying to get paid at the end of the day. And now we're walking that fine line of, we want to be respectful, be an ally, and help treat the community appropriately. But then on the legal side, we're trying not to be offensive, but we need to get paid. So
exactly.
One of the greatest tips, and I know your course is packed with tips like that. So anybody who's interested in learning anything like that, I know you have a whole section on terminology and the history of it, and starting out by sharing your story personally. That, for me, I was sucked in. I was watching your videos and I was like, oh gosh, this story, I want to know more, and I want to hear what you have to say, because that opinion is so valuable. You live it every single day. I don't know if you are comfortable sharing a little bit of your story here with us today, but I'm sure everybody would love it. If you want them to catch that in the course, that's totally okay. But if we've got time, if you want to.
Sure. Max is right inside. Do you want me to ask him if he wants to come say hi?
He
might say no, but I'll just ask him.
That's okay. That would be so cool.
How would you feel about coming to say hello on Facebook to some people who might take my class? Thanks. Yeah. He's going to come say hi. And then after he's done saying hi, well, I'll tell you a little bit more.
Sure. Well, that's super exciting. We'll get to say hi to Max.
He must be getting his shoes on.
Okay.
He just comes stand right here next to me. You don't really have to say anything but hello, okay? All right. There he is. There's
Love your hair.
Thank you.
So awesome.
We just colored it again.
Yeah, when I was younger in middle school, I put purple in my hair like 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Your mom is doing some amazing things, and thank you for sharing with us. We really appreciate it.
She's told me all about them.
Good.
All right, you're free. Thank you.
I will.
Mhm,
Well, thank you for that. That's awesome.
mhm. You can see my farm here too in the background. It's like all these gravel covered cars. Sorry, wasn't where I was supposed to be doing this, but so Max is 15, he's almost 16, and he was born as Miriam, biologically female, and he was the third of three girls that we had in our family. So everything was pink and everything was about girls, girls, girls in our family. And he came out to me about a year and a half ago in a text message in the middle of the night because he knew I wouldn't respond and he was nervous, because coming out, the main thing about coming out that people should understand is that you're not sure that people are going to accept you.
Yeah.
Especially in our country, in our society, there are people who still think that there's only one way to be, and I'm not saying whether those people are right or wrong. I'm just saying, look at it from someone's perspective who wants to be that, who wants to be transgender, or who wants to be anything LGBTQ. They don't know until they say out loud, I'm gay or I'm transgender, if someone is going to accept you. So, I mean, for me, it wasn't a problem. I was like, great, I always wanted a boy. Let's do this. But for some parents, it can be really tough.
Yeah.
It can be tough because you had these expectations, you had this like view of how your child is going to be. And all of a sudden you have to throw those out the window and just take whatever it is that however they're going to define their transgenderism, because there's so many different ways to be gender colorful, if that makes sense. It's not like, oh, well, I was a man and now I'm a woman, and so I'm going all the way over to the other side. There's this spectrum. Okay. So anyway, he came out to me, and it's just been a journey in figuring out how he wants to be Max. And yeah.
That's so cool, though. Thank you for being so supportive. And I mean, of course, you're doing all these other amazing things now. You do some coaching as well. Am I right in that? I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yes. So in addition to being a general dentist, I am a leadership coach for other dentists. And basically what that means is I help usually female dentists. We're all taught to be nice and to try to make everybody like us, and that's how we're a good person or something. And especially as women, it can be hard to find that leadership voice where we direct people's actions without feeling like we're being a bitch.
Yep. I will 100% agree with you there. It's really hard.
Mhm. And so I teach female dentists how to have that voice, how to direct what's happening with their practice and have the ownership of their practice, while treating their employees with actually more respect for their feelings, but also with more intentionality from how we're leading the practice. So I do that once or twice a week, 1 or 2 days a week, I mean, in addition to the dentisting that I do.
I love it. You do so many awesome things. Thank you for the dental community, the transgender community, the womanhood community, and just the all around awesome people community. We need all of that in our lives for sure. Absolutely.
And I think what you guys are doing at Dental Toaster is awesome. And I hope that you're going to get it out. I mean, the hygienists are great. I have 3 hygienists. I love my hygienists. They're so good. And they help me in so many ways: diagnosis, treatment planning. My hygienists even input insurance checks on a daily basis. They're doing it all. But it's really cool that you can get out there and capture all the different parts of the community. We all need better ways to learn to be better at what we're doing. So I think it's great.
Absolutely do. For sure. Our communities need to be lifting each other up. We need that teamwork integrated. Man, we all need to pull each other in tight, especially nowadays. Things are crazy out there. And, if anybody's still at home or has a little extra time, get your CE in. Honestly, at this point, we've heard so many amazing things from you, Laura, with your stories and your knowledge. You guys can have like 90 minutes of that packed in, and it's a super great course. It's broken up into chunks, so you don't have to do it all at one time, which is probably my favorite thing. So we all are like crazy busy nowadays. And sometimes it's hard to sit and digest 90 whole minutes at one time. You know, I have the attention span of like a squirrel.
Same.
So even watching a movie, I'm like, I'm done about like 15 minutes in because I get bored with it. And then the rest of what's on, if I keep it playing, is lost. So on-demand CE, you can go in, you watch everything in 10 to 15, maybe 20-minute modules. And if you don't want to do the next one, you can wait. You can log in the next day and do it. It can be a month later, which hopefully not. Hopefully you're doing it so you get the full picture together. But if that's how you like to do your CE, then it is an option to do it that way. But our brains absorb so much more of that information when we can do it in those little chunks and tidbits, and then re-reference it later on. So this course is awesome too, because you can potentially, depending on your state practice act, so I will say check it, but you can get your ethics course requirement. You know, we are AGD PACE certified, and we have our course code that we chose for it does include it to be as an ethics requirement. So that's super helpful because those are not super easy to find.
And I can't say this for sure, but I'm guessing that my course is probably more entertaining than a lot of ones that would be on ethics.
It is. It's a really good watch. So I, when I was inputting it into our system, watched all of it probably 3 or 4 times by the time I got through making the whole thing. And I wasn't bored. So that's a really good thing. It's a really great class. Lots of great information. Everybody, if you are interested in taking this course and you're interested in getting a small discount on it, if you want to drop your email in the comments for us, we will reach out to you with a link and a coupon code to register. Awesome. So that's something we're only going to do for a super short period of time. And then it'll go back to its regular price, but you definitely don't want to miss out. Even if it, you know, takes you a couple weeks to get to it, jump on that, get that course in your to-do list and mark, pencil it in the future because it's an awesome course. Do you have any other advice for us or anything that you'd like to share before we go today, Laura?
I just am grateful that people are interested because it helps each of us be a better person, take better care of our patients. And like I said, it's good. It's good for your practice to be knowledgeable about it.
It is. Quick little story before I go. I recently worked in a practice for 3 years as a hygienist who, different kind of community, but they were a Seventh-day Adventist community. Best bosses I've ever had in my life. And I mean, we had patients traveling from hours and hours away who came to see our dentists because they knew it was their people. And so we never worried about production and we never worried about money, and we had a beautiful office and we had the nicest things. I've moved since then. That's why I'm talking in past tense. But the money came and everything came because we were supported and it was known that our intentions were pure. And I feel very much that in your case here, it's the same thing. And I know many people in dentistry would be striving to achieve that. They just quite don't know how yet. So this is where they can start for sure.
Easily. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Laura, for being here with us. We'll have to do this again sometime because we learned a lot, and we'll hopefully have to maybe get another course out of you sometime.
Yeah.
And we'll share it with our members again. But I'm going to sign us off here. So everybody have a fantastic Friday and a fantastic weekend. Get some rest, maybe take some CE. So I did put the link to register as the description of this video, so you can find it there. Or you can go to dentaltoaster.com and you can find the course card, creating a safe space for our transgender patient, and that will help you register. Again, if you want to potentially get a coupon code here, drop your email in the comments for us, and we'll see you then. So take care, everybody. Take care, Laura. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.